Hey, what's going on folks? My name's Gray and today on Consoletronix I will be bringing to you all the games that make up the Shrine Maiden themed series Kiki Kai Kai, better known in the West as Pocky and Rocky, a shoot 'em up franchise entrenched in the cutesy style popular at the time. But don't let that fact distract you from what is a rock solid supernatural shoot 'em up series from once industry super heavyweights Taito. Let's check it out. "1986 was a good year for gaming. The industry had begun to mature and prove it was no mere fad or flash in the pan, and seminal works like Ikari Warriors, Bubble Bobble, Castlevania, Hang On, Outrun and Dragon Quest, to name but a few, would dominate both the arcade and home scene. But betwixt all this, Taito would release what they would market as a lovely action game, Kiki Kai Kai, which means strange and mysterious world. You control series star Sayo Chan on a quest to rescue kidnapped deities from mischievous yokai, in a basic but strangely compelling scrolling shooter that quickly found a fanbase, becoming one of the more successful arcades of the year. The first home port of the hit arcade would appear on the Japanese exclusive MSX2 computer range in 1987, and while my knowledge of the MSX library is limited to say the least, I'm consistently drawn back to it when looking at the history of many classic games. Metal Gear springs to mind. This is a very competent conversion which retains all the charm and quirkiness of the arcade original, even if the fact that I'm playing with keyboard controls means I can't get very far. At least, that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. The MSX brand, which is hardly mentioned today, was once upon a time considered the standard bearer by game developers, but the release of the Famcom in Japan changed the dynamic overnight, and while the MSX would limp into the 90s, it was never a serious rival. I bring this up because the Famicom also had a port, and is one of the more unique releases I've seen for the Famicom Disk System, as it released with quite a bit of fanfare with its novelty packaging and second controllable character. But it's not Rocky, it's Mickey, or Mickey Ito, a Showa idol involved in the music and promotion of the game, in a similar move to what Sega had done with Teddy Boy 2 years prior. And the final port, released in 1990 for the genuine contender to Nintendo's position as #1 in Japan at least, is for the NEC PC Engine, the 16-bit pint-sized powerhouse. And I don't believe it's an exaggeration to say that this release is the reason why Kiki Kai Kai is still remembered today, as both the MSX and Famicom Disk System have become very obscure outside Japan. The port is chef's kiss, arcade perfect as you'd expect, but also includes those little niggles that were excusable in 1986, such as being unable to strafe the enemies, meaning you're constantly putting yourself in danger, but with the difficulty adjusted accordingly, it's still an enjoyable blast. The early to mid 1990s saw mixed fortunes for Taito. The gaming pioneers behind Space Invaders now struggled in a changing marketplace. Most Saturn or PS1 owners only knew the name Taito from importing Japanese exclusive shoot-em-ups or train driving simulators. But they would entrust fellow Japanese developers Natsumi, who latterly found success with the Harvest Moon franchise, to breathe new life into an old favourite. And I'm pleased to report that Natsumi, best known then for above average NES shooters, produced a quite remarkable game. Fast, fluid, bonkers and brilliant. It even was released in the US and Europe, although now costing a king's ransom. It remains a highly polished and very playable scrolling shoot 'em up, which still delivers the goods. Two years later, in 1994, Natsumi would release a follow-up which, like the first, failed to capture the attention of many in the West, despite a wide release. But could Natsumi make lightning strike twice and craft a sequel worthy of the highly thought of original? Do French rifles fire white flags? Of course they could. Once again it falls to Sayo Chan and her shape-shifting tanuki sidekick to traverse the levels, exercising spirits and banishing evil as she goes, in a perfect example of why the 16-bit era is so fondly remembered to this very day. A brilliant game. With the dawn of the new millennium and Nintendo releasing a successor system to its legendary Game Boy handheld, quite a few creaky old franchises would have the cobwebs blown off and receive a half-arsed small screen outing. And while the thought of the two SNES titles on the go would have been most welcome, the developers Ultron went with the tribute to the original arcade in Kiki Kai Kai Advance, aka Pocky and Rocky with Becky. A decent addition to the series in a seen-it-all-before style that's hardly going to impress those not already familiar with the franchise, yet it's lacking the nutty energy that fans have come to expect. A curiosity more than a classic. And for once here on Consoletronix, I don't close stuck in the past, but instead I get to talk of the present and the very tasty Kiki Kai Kai Reshrined from 2022, available on Switch, PS5 and PC. And while a lot's changed in the 20 odd years between games, Taito having been swallowed up by the monolithic Square Enix for instance, one cast iron rule of gaming that has stood the test of time is that simple, fun and addictive gameplay trumps graphics 100 times out of 100. Sayo Chan and her supernatural mates are back at it again and don't look a bit out of place, whatever the generation. I've been playing this quite a bit on Steam recently, and if you've yet to see what all the fuss is about, it's never too late to grab a copy of this or try your hand at any of the games that make up this fabulous franchise. So my name's Gray, I hope you enjoyed the video. Did I stir some memories in you or perhaps whet your appetite to give some of these wonderful games a go? Let me know in the comments down below. So thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, goodbye.